Where is it? Good morning to everyone, and welcome to our January Fellowship Assembly. Are most of you in the cold, or is somebody somewhere where it's warm? Judy, you're still
warm. Oh, yes. Everybody else in the cold?
Everybody's in the cold. I'm in the cold. And welcome, Louise. Nice to have you with us.
Nice to be here.
And Zalak from Edmonton. How are you? Welcome. Okay, I will turn it over to you, Kim. You're going to introduce the speaker.
I am actually. Right.
Oh, okay, Judy. Wonderful.
Okay. So as all of you know, that we've been supporting 2 students each year to go to the RYLE camp. That's Rotary Youth Leadership Experience. And I don't know if everybody knows exactly what goes on at these camps other than what I've sent you for in the newsletter. But we're happy to have, is it Zalak?
Zalak, yes.
Zalak with us. She is the outreach coordinator for RYLE. And she's going to tell us all about the camp and the impact that it is having on the children or the teenagers, I guess, that are going to the camp, and all about what it's all about. So go ahead, Zalak.
Sounds good. Hi, everybody. I hope we're all doing good this morning. I'm just going to take a second to pull up my presentation and present it. Can we all see that?
It's coming. It says loading.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So thank you for having me here. I'm gonna speak a little bit about the Rotary Youth Leadership Experience. We like to call it RYLE for short. And this is a camp. It's a 4-day camp that takes place in Edmonton at a place called Camp Nakamun. And this year it's happening from May 1st to May 4th, 2025. And I'm here to talk about it because I've been with this camp for 5 years, and I've experienced almost all parts of it. I was here as a camper for 2 years. I attended RYLE when RYLE was happening online during COVID. So I got to see that transition from online to in person. And then I loved it so much. I loved the people there. So I went back as a counselor, and I was a counselor for a year. And then I wanted to get more involved in the planning process of it. I wanted to tell other people what this camp was about and kind of connect the district to the ideas of this camp. So then I became the outreach coordinator. And this year this is my 2nd year working as the outreach coordinator. And my job is essentially to manage our Instagram page, our website, and also speak to all of you all across the district. And I think as Tammy told us today, all across the world about what RYLE is. So I'll get into it, but before I do, I just want to speak a little bit about a really wonderful team that we have at RYLE. We're made up of a really great bunch of individuals who put in a lot of effort throughout the year to plan this camp. So I would just like to briefly introduce them. This is our 2025 committee. You may recognize some of these faces. I'm at the bottom over there. I'm the outreach coordinator. But I would also like to give a shout out to Ikmat, who is our chair this year. And she was also the RYLE chair last year. She would be your initial point of contact if you ever were to email the RYLE email for anything other than requesting presentations. But yeah, so that is Ikmat. Our team is selected through a very rigorous process. So we're made up of we're very capable individuals. And when we're planning the camp, we're planning all aspects of this camp. But when we're there, we are leading different activities, we are facilitating different conversations, and we're helping with the personal development of our campers. So our committee is what makes our RYLE camp experience for the campers and the counselors like so amazing. So I would just like to give out a quick shout out to them before we go on. Okay, moving on to what RYLE does. So like I said, it's a 4-day camp, but our real big focus is on 3 things. It's on student leadership, community building, as well as global citizenship. And when we do this through a lot of different workshops, sessions, activities, and these activities are developed are catered so that the campers can develop their leadership skills, such as interpersonal relationships, communication, public speaking, and teamwork. And then these skills that are developed at RYLE will allow the campers to come back into their communities and make a really strong positive impact. Additionally, our activities are also catered towards allowing our campers to evaluate what their own leadership journey looks like and where they're at, and expose them to different perspectives. And how we do this is through group conversations where different campers come from different walks of life, and will talk about their own unique experiences. And oftentimes those experiences are so different from one another that it really even gives me a new perspective. And I've been, going back to this camp for 5 years, and every year I learn something new as well. So it's really, really fulfilling and heartwarming. Additionally, these activities also enhance our campers' ability to think critically, diversely, and inclusively, which are some really important skills that are transferable even beyond RYLE into all areas of life. One of the activities that I really love facilitating as a counselor is called the Privilege for a Sale. And it's an activity that we do where our campers will have a list of privileges, and they have a set amount of money that they can buy privileges with. And it's really nice to see which privileges different campers value. And then the big point of this activity is to have the conversation afterwards rather than to decide what privileges to buy, because oftentimes what ends up happening in a group of 7 to 8 is that you don't even end up deciding on which privileges you want to buy as a group, because people have just different perspectives and different things that they value. And so at the end of the day, it's really about the conversations that take place while you're deciding to buy these different privileges. And for me, that's really nice because I come from Edmonton, but some of the campers come from rural communities, and some campers are coming from different populations within those communities. So it's really important to explore those perspectives. And it's really nice to see these young campers do so at such a young age and do so in such a nice way. But that's just an example of one of the activities that we do. Additionally, these objectives of student leadership, community building, and global citizenship also serve as our campers' first experience with Rotary and what we stand for. So we would try to introduce the different facets of Rotary to these students through such conversations as well. Moving on, I talked a lot about our campers. So I would just like to talk about who our campers are. So our campers are high school students, and they're typically between the ages of 14 and 18. And they come from all across District 5370. Sometimes we also get students who are on an international exchange. So they are not even from Canada, they're from somewhere outside of Canada. And that's really like a whole new perspective that they bring with them. And they bring a lot of different life experiences with them, which really enrich our discussions and give us a new perspective. Last year, we hosted 95 students from across 38 different Rotary clubs. And keeping Rotary's values in mind, our key focus when we're hosting our campers is social development. So at RYLE, they can expect to build some really strong connections with like-minded youth, aspiring to build a strong community together. So these friendships can then extend beyond the camp. So when they go back, they can also expect that they would be in touch with these people. For example, when I was a camper, an online camper back in, I think, 2022, I met a girl, her name is Hyacinth, and she was a camper with me. And I honestly didn't expect that I would see her ever again. But as it turns out, we ended up coming back as campers again. We ended up coming back as counselors again, and we ended up seeing each other every single year. Now, I thought that I was just going to see her at these camps every year at RYLE. But then it turns out that she came to Edmonton to attend University of Alberta, and I study there. So then I met her in my classes. I met her at our University Rotaract Club, and I see her at other club events as well. So it's really wholesome how you can find these people that you saw as a little square on your computer screen in 2022 when it was COVID. And now you know this person so well. You've known this person for over 5 years. And you talk to them about stuff that isn't just RYLE or Rotary. And another example is I met someone at RYLE as a camper, and we did a science internship together. So honestly, it doesn't even have to be associated with Rotary or RYLE. You can see these people, you can meet these people in a completely different context, and it really is so wholesome how these connections form. But yeah, that's just a little story about what these campers can expect when they come. Because even once they go back, we provide them with a Discord server that they can stay connected with, but oftentimes these students will form their own channels of communication, such as Instagram group chats or Snapchat, etc. So what we do at RYLE in terms of different activities, we host a whole bunch of different activities. These activities can be, like I mentioned, workshop activities, discussion activities, hands-on activities. But really our key goal when we're designing these activities is our 3 C's of RYLE. It is what we call competency, confidence, and connections. So at camp, we would provide our campers with the guidance to work with each other on these hands-on activities and workshops and allow them to exercise the skills that they've learned. So oftentimes the way we would design our day is we would have a discussion or a session where students are sitting down, as you can see on the bottom right, and they're talking about something or trying to develop a certain skill or getting introduced to a certain skill. And then we would do a hands-on activity, such as what you see in the top left, where they can apply these skills. And honestly, it's not like the campers know that they're applying these skills. It's just something that happens. So the picture that you see on the top left is called Tower Defense. It's a game where some of the students are blindfolded while others can see, and they have to build a tower while defending their own tower from others that are attacking it. And it's a really nice thing that brings people together. They're working as a team because the people who are building can't see, and the people who can see aren't allowed to touch the tower. So it really gets them talking, really gets them working together, builds up a strong spirit, and gets them or breaks the ice, I guess. This is also the activity that we would do in the first few days of the camp. So the students really get to know each other. And after this activity, I've noticed that the atmosphere at camp completely changes because students who didn't know each other wouldn't talk to each other before camp or before this activity. And suddenly after this activity, they're sitting together for meals and they're talking between sessions. And so it's really nice to see. And meanwhile, they're also building skills such as teamwork and communication. Then as a reward for their extremely hard work for all these sessions and workshops, we give them an opportunity to do an outdoor activity of their choice. So previously this has looked like a zipline activity or a king swing activity that the camp that we host RYLE at offers. So on the top right, you can see a picture of one of our campers ziplining. But additionally, if the campers are scared of heights or don't want to do one of those activities, we also have some really fun activities planned that don't include height. For example, we host like a foosball tournament. So it's really fun. But yeah, so although the camp is only 4 days long, a lot of friendships can bloom, as I mentioned earlier. RYLE fosters the opportunity for campers to make new friends, learn about the next step of Rotary, next step of Interact, which is Rotaract, and then also learn a little bit about where they can get involved with Rotary. So that brings us to RYLE and Rotary. So we are affiliated with District 5370, and we try our best to introduce the different facets of Rotary to our campers. So how we do this is at the beginning of camp, our campers will be divided into 7 different cohorts based on the 7 pillars of Rotary. And then throughout the 4 days, they would get a little bit of time each day to plan a presentation on this facet. And we try to focus that their presentation would be on a challenge that is existing within that facet of Rotary and what they can do within their local and global communities to address this challenge. And then at the end of 4 days, they would present this as anything that they really want. So we've had people do a dance, a script. Someone designed an entire song with a choreography associated with it on something. So it was really creative. People get creative. I know when I was a counselor, I think 2 years ago, our group designed a advertisement. So they designed a commercial like you would see on a TV, and they just did it on the stage. So it was really nice. People can do a lot of different things, but at the end of the day, they're thinking about ideas that they can go back into their community and implement. And that is a big part. So that is one of the things that we do. Additionally, we also do a What is Rotary panel, which is a presentation style panel with where we invite speakers from an Interact Club, a Rotaract Club, which is a university level Rotary Club, and then a Rotary International. So a member who is part of a Rotary Club. They would come up on the stage and they would talk a little bit about what their club does. And then our students can ask them questions about how things work, how they can get involved, etc. Most of our students are between the age of 14 and 18. So some of them are a part of an Interact Club at their high school. Some of them aren't. So we also provide them with the resources to establish their own Interact Club if they choose to do so. And we tell them who to contact and how that process would go. So those are some of the things that we would do to introduce them to Rotary. As our world is changing, so is our program. And how we do this is by changing the activities that we do every year. We try to make them more applicable to our campers. One of the big changes that we did last year was we introduced certificates of completion to our campers. So this was a proof that they could bring home and show to people that they attended this experience. And you can see a picture of our campers holding these certificates. They received them at the end of the camp, and we did a whole graduation ceremony. And they could have put this certificate on their resume, and it was a valid certificate that was recognized. So that was something that we did. But with that just being a small snippet of everything that is to come, I would like to move on to talking about how you can play a role in this. So let's get into the process of applying to be a sponsor. So it's really simple, honestly. It's just 4 steps. So first you send us an email at ryle5370@gmail.com. And when you send us an email, it will be received by ICMAT, our chair. Excuse me. Be sure to email us before April 11th, 2025, as that is the deadline for registration for our campers. And you can reserve however many spots that you want to reserve for the camp. We also have students, then these students that you want to sponsor, you can select them from your Interact Club or your high school club. And then you will ask them to fill out a camper registration form, which we will email you, but you can also find on our website and our Instagram page. Once they have filled out the registration form, we will send you a confirmation email that the student that you are willing to sponsor has registered for the camp. Finally, you will contact the district office to make a payment for the camper. The sponsorship fee for one camper this year is $500, and this would include all of their accommodations, meal, as well as transport if they are going to take the bus from Edmonton. I would like to say that if you can, please place a preference on selecting students who have not attended RYLE before. One of the things that we do is we mostly don't take campers who have attended RYLE previously. And if they're wanting to attend again, we don't really accept those applications unless there is an exception. We would honestly recommend that they apply as a counselor. But yeah, so if you are wanting to sponsor, try to sponsor people who haven't attended before. Additionally, if your club is interested in sponsoring students, but you are unable to find students, please feel free to reach out to us and reserve a spot, because we oftentimes get students who want to attend, but they don't have a sponsorship. So we would love to potentially have you sponsor them. So give them a sponsorship, give you an opportunity to send a student. And that would be really good. Likewise, if you have more interest from within your district or your club, about students who want to attend RYLE, then you can accommodate. You can also send us an email, because we would oftentimes have clubs that want to send students but don't have students to send. And again, we would like to match those sponsorships. But yeah, just keep in mind that registration does close on April 11th, 2025. So we do need you to reserve a spot and for the campers to fill out their applications before that. And it will close at 11:59 Mountain Time or Edmonton time. But yeah. Okay, I would just like to do a quick shout out, because we are recruiting for counselors right now. So if you know someone in your clubs, in your intract clubs or in your high school clubs who show a really good leadership potential, and if they would be interested in joining the counselor team, then we are recruiting right now. I have had the privilege of being a counselor for 3 years, and it's been really wholesome. I would really recommend this to anyone who wants to do it. You get to meet some really amazing people. You get to build some really otherworldly connections, not just RYLE connections, but even professional connections. For me, I'm a student in sciences, and I met my mentor, who is, who I look up to when I'm thinking about what I want to do with my career. I met them at RYLE. I met my closest friend at RYLE. So, and I met them as counselors. So it's really important, and it's a really amazing experience, because like I said, every year I come back, I learn something more and I develop more. I think, I'm at the top of the world, and then I come and I'm humbled by a camper. I'm just kidding. But yeah, you meet some really nice people and you gain some really interesting perspectives. And as you can see, we have a lot of fun too. We're a really interesting bunch. So if you know someone who wants to apply, then please let them know that they can apply and that the registration is open. And if they have any questions, you can email us. I would just like to say that our applications are closing next week on Monday, January 31st at 11:59 p.m. And the application can be accessed through our website and our Instagram page. Just one thing to note is that the applicant has to be above the age of 16 before the camp starts in order to be a counselor. But yeah, that's just a quick shout out to that. I know that was a little quick, but do we have any questions about the presentation?
Go ahead.
Can you give us some examples of the impact that RYLE made afterwards, of some of the students that have been to it before?
Of course. So this is a little bit of an older example, but when I was in high school, I attended RYLE, and we went back to we did our RYLE presentation, and we came back to our club and we started an initiative where we started going garbage picking every week within the area of our school with our Interact Club. It was an idea that was introduced by me and the 2 other students that were sponsored to go to RYLE from my club. And we saw this idea in one of the presentations that happened. And so we came back and we were like, we want to do this in our community. We have a little ravine behind our school. And so we decided to clean that up. And then starting from that spring, moving into the end of the year, and then even the following year, we did garbage cleanups every I think second week. And honestly, like there's a lot of garbage. So I was surprised that we would find so much garbage every second week, but that was something that we did. But one of the more recent examples would be we had a camper last year. His name is Eric. And honestly, I didn't know that RYLE had such a big impact on him until I met him afterwards. So after camp ended, after we all went back home, I met Eric again in September when he was attending another one of the Rotary Youth programs called RIPEN. Or sorry, no, RYLE, attending RYLE in September. And we met him because I was doing a presentation with my partner on RYLE at RYLE. And he came afterwards and he was talking to us about how he wanted to be a counselor because RYLE made such a profound impact on him. It allowed him to open up, is what he said, allowed him to explore leadership, which was something that he had never really considered before. And he said that when he started camp, he didn't really want to talk to anyone. And we also noticed that because my partner, Henel, was actually one of his counselors. And we had noticed that he wouldn't really talk to anyone until like the second day of camp. And then I think he said that he saw a change in Eric, where Eric opened up, he was talking, he was taking parts in conversation. And honestly, we see that often in our campers. What I was surprised by is that he came after RYLE, like almost 4 months later, to talk to us. He knew our names. He started that conversation when he was someone who wouldn't even talk when being talked to, that he was starting that conversation with us. And he showed interest in being a counselor. He asked us when the counselor applications are opening. Once they opened, he emailed us about how he can write a good application and has been checking up on us to see what his application progress is looking like and where his application is at in the cycle of review. So that's just something that we saw. When someone doesn't talk a lot and then they start to reach out to people that they barely talked to, I think that's a change. And honestly, I've also seen that in myself. I'm here giving presentations, but in high school, I didn't really talk to anyone. So it's taken 5 years, but here I am. I'm talking to people that I've never met before. I'm emailing people I've never met before. And it's an important skill to have. And I feel like RYLE is a place where you can make that happen.
Great. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I'll just, because I think, Judy, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Students don't have to be in an Interact or Rotaract club to attend, right? They can attend just because we've identified a student that we believe, yeah. Although this year, I think, Judy, both of them are likely to be Interact club members.
No, they weren't at the time, or last year they weren't, and the year before they weren't. We have this year they might be, because they'll probably come from, they might not be in Interact, but they may come from one of those two schools.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The Strath Coast Club is sponsoring Interact clubs, just because they're there all the time and they can help identify the people, which we can't because we're not there. So yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Zalak, we will sponsor too. I don't know whether Judy has actually registered that fact yet, but we are going to sponsor 2 students. So.
Sounds good. I would also just ask that you send us a separate email. Just like I mentioned earlier, there's another person who looks at the sponsorship.
Yeah, I'm already in touch with Ignat. So.
Sounds good. Yeah. Okay.
I've got one question. Like just a personal one, really. What is the field of study in sciences?
Oh, my field of studies. So I'm a 3rd-year student. I'm studying sciences. Specifically, I'm studying immunology and infection. So I study disease progression, but in a more biological way.
Okay.
So rather than in a population, I'm looking at how bacteria and cells are acting.
So are you going to continue on PhD, doctor?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that field of study. My cousin just retired, but he was infectious disease biologist, doctor at the IWK in Halifax. And then Los Soma Hospital in Los Angeles right now. He's retired, but yeah,
That
good
is
for you.
amazing. That is amazing. Thank you so much for letting me know. I'll keep that in mind.
Can I ask, I mean, you said you're in a university-based club, correct?
Rotaract, right?
So I am a member of Rotaract. I'm
Right.
not a part of their leadership committee. I would like to clarify that RYLE itself is not a part of Rotaract.
Right.
It's just a lot of the people that make up the RYLE team are a part of Rotaract.
Yeah, no, my question was in terms of that club, is there a percentage of that club that would have come across Rotary because of participation in one of the, RYLE or RIPEN? I mean, is it a fairly common progression for people that have participated to end up joining one of the youth-based clubs?
I know a couple. I know a couple of them. Mostly, I know people who came from an Interact background or had friends who were in Interact. And when they came into university and were looking for a group of friends, that they would join these clubs and then they would form their friendships there. Oftentimes, what happens is I know a few people who were RYLE campers, but a lot more of our new Rotaract members ended up becoming RYLE counselors, and then they fell in love with RYLE, and then they've been with RYLE for 4 or 5 years. So our previous chair, Kira, would be an example of that, and our current chair, Ikmat, would also be an example of that. They were asked to come be RYLE counselors, and then they've been with the program for like 6 years. So yeah.
Can you just explain to everyone the difference between RYLE and RYLA?
I wouldn't. Okay, so I don't really know a lot. I just know they're both programs by the District 5370. I just know about RYLE. I've never really had any experience with RYLA, but I do know that RYLA is a one-day camp that happens in September. And again, it's for high school students, but I think it's more for people who are already a part of an Interact club or have some sort of background with RYLE or Rotary. Whereas RYLE is for anyone really who falls within that age category and wants to develop leadership skills.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Can I make a comment, Zalak? If your ability, leadership ability and presentation ability are the result of RYLE, that is a wonderful endorsement because you've done an outstanding job today. I've loved it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah. Any other questions?
But no, I don't have a question, but a comment also. So as you get a little older, we have a club you might be interested in joining with an e-club for young professionals, and they are all over the world as well. And maybe one day down the road, we'll see you as the president of RECCO, or as we call them, or RECCO, our club.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, 100%. It is something that I would be interested in.
Good.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much for the enlightening presentation. It's wonderful to hear about the impact of one of the programs that we're supporting is doing. So thank you so much for coming to our meeting.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. It was really amazing to be here today. Just some of the dates to keep in mind would be April 11th, which is the registration deadline.
Right.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Can I make a comment, Judy?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think the future of Rotary is in excellent hands with you, Zalak.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome to stick around if you want. We have a bit more to do, Zalak, but I know you're going to class, you said, so if you have to leave, please feel free as well.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to leave. I just have a class at 11, so.
Okay.
No problem.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for having me. Bye.
Yes. Okay, Kim.
So January is, the theme for January is vocational services. So I just have a short 2-minute video about what that means to Rotary.
And I don't think it's going to open for me, Kim. So let me try it another way here.
Find it again. Well, I copied the hyperlink and it's going to play.
Rotary's emphasis on vocational.
Okay.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead. It just won't open for me. There we go.
When you see it.
Yep.
Emphasis on vocational service has its roots in the founding of the organization. The original intent of Paul Harris, who was a lawyer in Chicago, was to bring together a circle of business and professional acquaintances, and the use of the classification principle, the guideline by which nearly all Rotary membership is determined, assures that each club has among its members a cross-section of a community's business and professional population. Since the founding of Rotary in 1905, Rotarians have always stressed high business ethics. Vocational service calls on Rotarians to empower others by using our unique skills and expertise to address community needs and help others discover new professional opportunities and interests. January is Rotary's Vocational Service Month, a great time to leverage vocational service in your club projects and activities. Here are some of the ways you can incorporate vocational service in your club activities. Share about your profession. Take time to learn about fellow members' occupations. Use your skills and expertise to serve a community. Practice your profession with integrity and inspire others to behave ethically through your words and actions. Work with local businesses to create mentorship, internship, or practicum opportunities to help young people achieve their career goals. Guide and encourage others in their professional development. Introduce a mini classifications talk series in which each member gives a 5-minute talk on his or her vocation. Schedule one speaker for the beginning of each meeting until everyone has made a presentation. The purpose of these talks is to promote vocational awareness among Rotarians and help them recognize the worthiness of all useful occupations. Present a vocational award to someone in the community who has exemplified outstanding professional achievement while maintaining very high ethical standards. Promote the presentation within the community and consider making it an annual January event.
That's great, Kim. Thank you. So we were going to have Kim, you're on for the next part too, the open discussion.
I've got things playing in the background here now.
Okay.
It's off, right?
Yes, it's off. Yes.
I just thought we could stay on the theme of youth, and I'm wondering if people have had youth exchange students stay with them in the past. I could start. I've had 13 students altogether over the course of my life. Initially, we were with Youth for Understanding. So those students came and stayed with you the entire school year. So we had students, I guess, 10 months stay at our home. It was a wonderful experience for us. And super wonderful for my kids, to the point of, I remember my second youngest daughter did a family tree at school, and she included her youth exchange brother. And the teacher goes, "You don't have another brother?" And she goes, "Yeah, you do." So, and we've stayed in touch with most of these students. Our first was from Finland, and I talked to him a few times a month, probably. We've been to visit him twice. He's come back for a wedding once. I have a daughter from Eastern Germany that we've gone to her home twice. She came back last summer and spent 6 weeks with us. And then we met up with her again when we were in Berlin, because she's from Dresden. So yeah, and then eventually I got into taking Rotary students. That's actually how I got into Rotary, is someone knew I had done a lot of exchanges and they were looking for someone to host a student. They said, "You should join Rotary so you could host a student." And I went, okay. And that's how I've been in Rotary. And I have to tell you that hosting students is an extremely enriching experience for the whole family. And it must have had an impact, because 3 of my children married first generation immigrants. So obviously they're attracted to alternate cultures. Has anyone else had an exchange student?
I have. I was a Youth for Understanding exchange student to Germany when I graduated from high school. The year prior to that, my family hosted a Youth for Understanding exchange student from England for my last year in high school. And then when my children were young, we hosted students who came to Montreal to go to language school, and we had them from all over the world. So we had lots of interesting experiences. And the reason I did it was because when my kids were young, we couldn't afford to travel. So we brought different cultures into our homes. And I think it was a very valuable education for my kids, and it has made them more worldly and interested in travel. And my own experience as an exchange student made me interested in travel, and look where I ended up.
That's right.
So you speak German now?
Pardon me?
Are you fluent in German now?
And not anymore. I was at that time, but I probably had 6 conversations in German after I left. But now I'm fluent in Spanish. So
Yes.
so German didn't get used much. I figure it's back there on the hard drive somewhere, but I don't.
The file is closed at the moment.
Yeah.
And
Well,
years it got deleted. I don't know. I haven't.
well, my brother and his wife, when their children, they have 4, were young, they had an exchange student, not through Rotary, but she was from Japan, Naoko, and we all fell in love with her, the whole family, and her parents eventually came over, and my brother and his wife still keep in touch with her. But I remember the day they took her to the airport, I called my niece later and I said, "So it must have been hard to say goodbye." And she said, "We never saw Dad cry like that in his life." So we knew how attached they all were to her, but she's such a lovely girl. And the kids did learn a lot about Japanese culture. It's quite amazing.
When I let my first one go home, it was horrid.
I bet.
Bawling and bawling.
Yeah.
Then I didn't want to wash the sheets in his bedroom because I didn't want to. It was really hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have had several over the years, from many different countries, but the ones that we've kept in touch with, the first one was Tony from Australia, from Brisbane, and he was a very handsome young man, tall and good looking, and he came to our house first, because they spend 3 months in each home. And so the first day of school at St. Francis Xavier, he went to school and he came home and he said, "Judy, I just don't think I can do it. I just don't think I can do it." I said, "What's the matter, Tony?" He says, "Well, I always went to a private boys' school and we wore suits and, uniforms, and the girls," he said, "the girls, they wear these like little halter tops and short shorts. And then he said, and everybody was coming up to me and looking at me, and I don't think I can handle it, he said. How do I handle it? Because every girl in the school was in love with Tony from the first day with the accent, and he was so polite, and none of the boys in Edmonton were like him.
No.
He was just such a lovely fellow. So we had to give him some advice of how to handle it and everything. And he just turned out to be so great. And then we kept in touch with him. A few years later, we went to Brisbane to the Rotary Convention and stayed with his family and met all his family. And we've kept in touch all these years. So he went to university after he got back and became a chartered accountant. And then he got married and has 2 kids. And so we still send Christmas greetings to him and his parents every year. And then the next one was Fabulous Fabi, our Fabi.
Yes.
From Brazil. And she was 16. And she, from day one, everybody in the whole Rotary Club was in love with Fabi.
Yeah.
And we were very close, and her parents came to visit I think probably in the spring of the year that she was with us, and they came to the lake to our cottage, and we got to be good friends. And so, of course, we've kept in touch all these years, and as you know, we now have her in our RECCO club, and we went to visit her and her family again in Brazil during the Rotary Convention in Sao Paulo a few years ago. Those are just 2 that stand out, but I don't want to do all the talking, so I won't talk about it anymore.
So when we lived in Virden, Manitoba, and we had 5 children living at home with us, we were very privileged to be able to have 2 young men come to be with us. It was part of the Canada World Youth Organization.
Yes. Yeah.
So Felix came from the Magdalen Islands, and the exchange was the out of country portion was from Cuba. So Jury came from Havana, and it was amazing. So then we went from having 5 kids to having 7 kids. And
who would have noticed?
Well, and the irony of it, the boys, when they went, if you're familiar with Canada World Youth, they were with us for 3.5 months. And so during that 3.5 months, they went away for, a portion of a week to kind of unpack what was happening, in the exchange. And the boys told us when they asked what their biggest memory that they were going to take away from living in our home was when we sat them at the table. My ex-husband was at one end, I was at the other end, and Felix and Yuri were across from each other on a big long table. And they said it'll be the thing they were going to take away was pass the potatoes, pass the meat, pass the green peas, because they were in the middle and that was what they did. Yeah. But it was an amazing experience. And my son, Kevin, became a world traveler, out of having that exposure. And he went on a Canada World Youth Exchange. And my kids were involved in Army cadets. And so he was had a lot of leadership skills. So he was left not knowing where he was going to go until the last moment. And he went to Thailand for, he was in Ontario on a pig farm for 3.5 months, and then went to a coffee farm in Thailand. And then he's been to India, and he's been to, he's gone on mission trips to Africa, and now he works for the railroad. But so that was our experience. And we've kept in touch with those 2 boys. And of course, if you're, familiar with Canada World Youth, the whole premise of that is building leadership, and that they're taking, skills back to, their the young people that are coming from developing countries. And Felix, he learned, he was a phenomenal kid. He left the Magdalen Islands after he had finished grade 12 and jumped on a fishing boat and went to Prince Edward Island because he wanted to learn English because he said on the Magdalen Islands, he said, we just speak French. Like he said, you know, he said, my mother, if she calls, she knows, hello, talk to Felix, that's it. And she was a school teacher.
Yeah.
So, and Yuri, he was teaching English in university in Havana, but he's gone on, he lives in Spain now. So he keeps asking when, you know, when Len and I are going to come to visit. So who knows?
Nice.
We had an exchange student from Denmark here in Cochrane, and he really got into the cowboy theme. And he lived with one family, and the guy took him out and showed him, that's your horse. And the day before he was going back, he wasn't packed at all because he thought maybe they was hoping the plane may get cancelled or something.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
But he had the cowboy hat, chaps, and everything. And
Wow.
when he got to the airport, his bags were so overweight, he ended up taking it out of the suitcase and putting this chaps on and stuff.
To wear on the plane. Oh my God.
Oh, that's good.
But anyway, he's been
Created
back
a stir on
here.
arrival.
He joined the Navy SEALs and been back, and he really loved the outdoors here.
Yeah.
Aw.
Well, this has been a great fellowship assembly. I was so impressed with Zalak. I know all of you were too, and really the future's great if we have people like that.
Yeah.
But she's a lovely, lovely lady. I'm going to just stop the recording here, but Lois, I'm wondering if you could stay behind once we end up here, please. Okay, I'll just stop.
You know, the RYLE